morning, our view, wherever you are watching us from. This is Ndizi TV Africa, and this is Morning Bus, being a Monday, that is 1st of December 2025, whereby we just welcome you to the new month. We can say Happy New Month from Ndizi TV Africa. I'm Jeff Nyakundi, and of course, it's that a month where we have many celebrations within the community, and also we mark at the end of the year. And now we can officially start counting the countdown to Christmas, saying that it is 1 month. Actually, it is 24 days to go to Christmas. That is 25th of 2025. That is December, when many people just mark the Christmas and celebrations of the birth of Jesus Christ. And elsewhere, there is a lot that we have aligned for you. And of course, being the 1st of December 2025, that is the 1st of December 2025. Yes, today we celebrate World AIDS Day because, of course, there are preparations that have been done since yesterday. And also it will be marked today. Of course, we'll be giving you information and also the data of what has been happening. But remember that there is energy is very high this week as we head to the final stretch of the year, as I've already earlier on mentioned. And whether you are sipping warm cup of coffee this morning, and also wrapping up end of the year project, remember the time you had the breakdown of what you may want to achieve within the year. And now it's that day you start counting on how many days you are remaining to complete your project. And of course, as we kick off our morning here from Ndizi TV Africa, a spark of cheers and also a dash inspiration and all the vibes of December brings to us. And let's dive into the day and also the month with the gratitude and also momentum as we start touching the seasonal magic of December 2025. And of course, what we have aligned for you today from the newspaper review this morning, and of course the morning report or the stories trending, and what has been happening in the political way, and what we are expected or what we are expecting within the week. Remember, last week we had the by-elections in the country. That is from Malava, Kaspul, Mbeere North, and other areas in the country, not forgetting the Nyamira by-election that was Ekerenyo, Nyansiongo, and Nyamhaya. Of course, we saw what happened, and we have seen some leaders coming out that the by-elections in some areas were not fair and free, and others are thinking of moving to court, maybe to challenge those who won in the areas, for example, Mbeere North, and of course, Malava constituency. Not forgetting that there is a lot that we have aligned for you, and remember, you can be able to have a conversation with us via our social media platforms, that is Ndizi TV Africa, on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as Ndizi TV Africa, and of course our SMS number 21575. And not forgetting that you can have a conversation through our WhatsApp number, that is 0711199890, and that is where we can keep the conversation going. I'm Jeff Nyakundi, and also my director is James Ondiki this morning as we start the morning bus, and one-on-one directly moving to the newspaper review. And this morning, as we all know, that we start from the Standard newspaper. Thereon, we'll be able to have a look at the Daily Nation, the Star, People's Daily, Taifa Leo, then the Business Daily. Thereafter, we can have a look at the morning report and, of course, the trending stories. As we start from that is the Standard newspaper, it's all about talking about the scam that has been happening more so in the social health organization. That is, they're calling it's another RIP. Another SHA rip-off. That is a scam loading. That the ghost land for at least 21 years ago, a disputed 23-acre plot in Karen has swallowed billions for hospital that exists only on paper, despite an active court fight, a forged document, and also unanswered ownership claims. The Social Health Authority now wants another 50 million for a fence around land the state may not even own, thus keeping a ghost project alive at a staggering public cost. That's a story published on page 4 and also page 5, talking about for 21 years ago, there is a 23-acre plot in Karen, that is in Nairobi County, that has been existing, and of course it has used a lot of billions. and it's only exists on paper, talking about now that the social health organization, that is the social health authority, now wants to get 50 million shillings to fence around that the existing or the paper existing land for to keep the ghost project alive, as it is staggering in the that is in the state. Of course, the state is not sure whether that land is existing. Of course, it's a ghost land, and of course a ghost project that has been alive for 21 years. And of course, it's a story published on page 4 and of course page 5 of the Standard newspaper. Also, you can be able to see Pastor that is Peter David Reparoko, who is the landowner, talking about there is no government agency that has not investigated this matter. From the DCI, National Lands Commission, Ministry of Lands, I have lived there for more than 40 years. As far as I am concerned, there is no dispute. The land is occupied by me, and the title deed is in my name. That is the owner of the said 23-acre land. That is Peter David Raparako. Elsewhere, Masi Mwangangi, who is the SHA CEO, talking about the authority has secured a budget of 50 million to help in fencing the plot, even as it awaits the conclusion of an ownership dispute. DCI requested NHIF to surrender the original titles for purposes of investigation. The current status of the matter indicates that the criminal matter is still ongoing. That is Masi Mwangangi, the CEO of Social Health Authority, talking about the land that has been existing, which is now a 23-acre plot that is has been existing, and it has swallowed a lot of billions. That is talking about the existing hospital on paper only, and also now that the SHA had requested 50 million for it to fence that land. And of course, from the investigation, they show that of course that hospital is not existing, but the owner of the land is saying that all agencies have investigated these that land, the said land, and of course that man is saying that he has lived in that land for 40 years, and there is no other owner of that land apart from him. And that is a story that you can be able to read through the Standard newspaper on that is on page 4 and also page 5. Moving to our Daily Nation newspaper, there is a lot of information there published talking about the by-election that ended last week, and from the look of things is that they're talking about by-elections fallout, and the politics parties read the Riot Act or to lawmakers to defy their leadership, and campaigned for rivals in that is in the mini polls that just ended last week on of course last week, or they were happening on last week on Thursday, and by Friday we had the winners announced. Of course, from page 4, there is double standards. Top politicians who backed rival candidates in the just concluded by-elections are facing disciplinary action, including potential removal from party and also parliamentary leadership positions. Sources in the broad-based government team of Kenya Kwanza and also ODM reveal plans to reorganize parliamentary leadership to reflect the current political realignment. That is a story published on page 4. And also the people affected here are many, of course, starting from Kitutu Chache South, Member of Parliament Anthony Kibagendi, who backed the candidate from Dr. Matiang'i's UPA party. Of course, Anthony Kibagendi was elected on the ticket of ODM. Elsewhere, a supporting Member of Parliament, Kale Pamisi, who supported the candidate of DAPK in a recent election in Western Kenya. And of course, Kale Pamisi was elected in the ticket of ODM. Elsewhere, we have Omapay Deputy Governor, that is Oyugi Mawanga, who went against his boss, that is in Kaspuri parliamentary race, and supported also supported another person who was eyeing for that seat. And of course, Homa Bay Deputy Governor is on the ticket of ODM. Elsewhere, from Nyamira County, Member of Parliament of Kitutu Kitutu Masaba, that is Kilifu Mbane Gisairo, who supported the MCA candidate of Dr. Fred Matiang'i's party in the recent polls in Nyamira County, that is Ekerenyo, Nyansionko, and Nyamaya. Of course, Kilifu Mbane Gisairo, he was elected on ODM ticket. Elsewhere, the UDA, that is Kakamega Senator Poni Haluale, who packed the DAPK man in Malava, says he is his friend and brother. Of course, he was chosen under the ticket of UDA. The Nyali Member of Parliament, Muhammad Ali, who packed the DCP candidate in the Magarini by-election. And of course, Nyali Member of Parliament, Muhammad Ali, was elected in the ticket of UDA. And of course, the Ford Kenya Kapchai member of the Kapchai member of Parliament, that is Machimbo Karasinga, who supported the independent MCA candidate in his constituency. Elsewhere, DAPK, of course, Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayubu Safula, who rooted for UDA candidate in Malava by-election. Of course, the Prod-based government is now reorganizing on how it's going to discipline these members of parliament who went against their wish as they campaigned for different, different positions, and also different members of parliament who are vying for the by-elections from Mbeere North, that is to Western Kenya, not forgetting about what happened in Magarini and of course in Nyamira County. And the ones affected here, these are 8 members of parliament, of course most of them coming from ODM party. Actually, 4 of them coming from ODM party, and also 2 of them UDA, and of course 2 from one from DAPK Kenya, and also another one from Ford Kenya. And that is, let's just wait and see what is going to happen. Of course, it is something that had a lot of it has a lot of feelings in that by-election that ended, and of course we saw the different colors of these members of parliament and also the opposition leaders in the country. That is a story published on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Elsewhere, on the lower side of this newspaper, they are talking about the paradox of jobless PhD holders, talking about while advanced education is often hailed as the path to opportunity for many of the country's master educated citizens, it has instead become a journey into the uncertainty. Behind every PhD certificate lies years of sacrifice, long nights, financial strain, and also immense dedication. And yet, instead of the leading research and also policy, many of the Kenyan scholars are trapped in cycles of part-time teaching, unpaid consultancies, and also total joblessness. And there is a silent crisis among the PhD holders. That is a paradox, and the view are willing to confront, says Dr. That is Vinzi Arasa Nyabunga, a part-time lecturer. And of course, they're talking about, this is a story published on page 3. Talking about the joblessness in the country, and of course talking about the PhD holders in the country. They're talking about is 400. Kenya produces approximate 300 to 400 PhD graduates every year against a national target of at least 1,000 a year. And that's a story published on page 3 of the daily newspaper. Elsewhere, on page 10, talking about issues of health, the healthcare will not be disrupted in SHA switch, teachers told. The Acting Teacher Service Commission Chief Executive Officer Evelyn Mitei said that data for all teachers has been successfully uploaded onto the SHA system, thus ensuring immediate access to the health care. That's a story published on page 10 of the daily newspaper. And elsewhere, there is that pullout talking about the high schooler, and of course, there is a lot that regards to the students at home now, currently at home for the holiday. Of course, you can grab the Daily Nation newspaper, and of course, there is a pullout that has some information for those young, that is young boys and girls. Elsewhere, on the top of this newspaper, on page 18, Southeast Asia storm death hit 600 as 4 million affected, heavy rains and also devastated countries. That is the international stories and also stories beyond our borders. A story published on page 18. Of course, what has been happening on southeast of Asia, that's talking about the storm death hit 600 as 4 million affected. That is from heavy rains and also devastated countries. Story published on page 18. Elsewhere, on page 2, when we talk about the WorldCoin saga, how Kenyans' Iris scam ended up in Germany. Of course, it is something that was trending last year, and of course, maybe I can just quote some months ago about the WorldCoin saga. Of course, people were being scanned their eye, that is the iris, and of course, some were being paid in the country. Later on, it was identified as something which was not fully accepted in the country, that led to the it to be stopped a little bit. And of course, now they are giving a story on page 2 in the Daily Nation talking about the WorldCoin saga and how Kenyans' Iris scam ended up in Germany. That is a story published on page 2. Of course, the main bold headline on the Daily Nation is talking about the by-election fallout and also the political parties that the riot act to lawmakers who defied their leadership and also campaigned for the rivals in the mini poll that ended. Of course, I'd mentioned that 4 of the ODM members who are going to be affected from whatever is being planned, that there will be some reshuffles in the parliament leadership. And of course, UDA, that is one senator that is from UDA, another member of parliament of UDA, and of course, one member of Ford Kenya, and also another one of DAPK. And you can people to grab that newspaper so that you can people to go through what I've just highlighted for you. Elsewhere, we have a look at this newspaper. Of course, there is some stories published on this newspaper that is starting from no Christmas cheer for the families as festivities room. That is the Oxfam reports that the cost of food has risen by 50%. Of course, as we have started the new month of December, of course, that is when people mostly have celebrations here and there. Other families will not be managing to these festives because of the high rise of the food prices and also the economy that is not favoring them. That is a story published on page 8, actually on page 4 of this newspaper. Elsewhere, why the by-elections may determine Western politics ahead of 2027. They're trying to give the reasons why the by-elections that happened last week might determine the Western politics come 2027 general elections. And of course, that's a story published on this newspaper. And there we can be able to see some of the winners being awarded their certificate from IBC after they were declared the winners of the by-elections that just got concluded last week. That was done on last week on Thursday, that is the 27th, and also by Friday we had the winners. And elsewhere, we can be able to see a photo of the president and also the First Lady Rachel Ruto and other dignitaries attended the church service, and they're saying that Ruto repeated his promise to make Kenya first world country. And it's a story published on the Daily, that is the Star newspaper. And of course, it's something that most of the leaders in the country and also Kenyans have been having a talk about it. How is he going to make it to be the first world country with the looming or the escalated issues of corruption in the country, and also joblessness to the young people, that is the Gen Zs, and also other members of the state, not forgetting each and every person. He's now having an issue with the high rise of that is economic issues, and also the high rise of life in the country. And of course, the president repeated it again that he is going to make Kenya the first world country, and that's a story published on the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, on the top part of this newspaper, they're talking about the interview. Achola, why illicit trade is bad for industries, taxes, and also livelihoods, giving information why unwanted, that is doing business that is unwanted in the country, that why is it bad for some of the industries and also taxes and livelihood in the country. And that is a story published on page 8 of the Star newspaper. And elsewhere, news that Matiang'i Gachagua rivalry divides their political handlers. That's talking about the opposition, that is the united opposition. Not forgetting that when we're talking about the united opposition, the chief principals there, Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the former that is the cabinet secretary, and other leaders that now from the by-election that happened, of course, their political handlers, now they're seen to be divided in a way, and that is a story published in the Star newspaper. Once you grab this newspaper, of course, you can be able to read more and know what exactly has been happening in the united opposition. And of course, not forgetting that the main bold headline here is talking about there is no Christmas cheer for families as festivities roam. And of course, it's because of the report that has indicated that the cost of food has risen by 50% in the country, thus having it a hard time for some of the families to ensure that they are going to get something to bite during these festive activities, that is as we mark the start of December 2025. Elsewhere, we have a look at the People's Daily. Of course, that is the bold headline there is talking about inside Ruto's power circle. That is the silent strategists that are in the Kenya Kwanza government. That's a story published on page 5, and of course we can be able to see the photo of the president, William Samoei Ruto, and of course next to him it's a photo of people that are not identified. And then just next to him, of course, we are seeing Farouk Kibet. And here they're saying that they work from behind closed doors, cutting away billions in earnings. That is a collective outfit, invisible in public and unstoppable in power, mild in controversy, and whispering decisions that steer the nation. And of course, talking about Ruto's power circle, that is inside Ruto's power circle. Of course, there are people that we cannot be able to see in public, but they are behind the curtains. Excuse me. And here behind the curtains, that is where they make things happen, and they are pushing. Of course, there is this statement here that they work from behind the closed doors, cutting away billions in earnings, a collective outfit invisible in public, unstoppable in power, mild in controversy, and also whispering decisions that steer the nation. Talking about the men behind the curtain and the way they are running the nation, that is through Farouk Kibet and of course the president, and those are the people that we may see in public. Of course, that's a story published on page 5 of the People's Daily. Of course, elsewhere, as we move on the newspaper, on this newspaper, that is the People's Daily, as we crown it this morning, is that the audit flags irregular fees, uniform scandal, and NEMIS data gaps. That is a story published on page 4 in the People's Daily, talking about what has been happening in schools. Of course, the audit flags out the irregular fees that the parents are asked to pay to some schools, most of the secondary schools in the country. And of course, the uniforms that they are requested that they have to pay the school for them to be provided there. And of course, the name is data gaps. That's a story published on page 4, talking about some issues in the education ministry. And of course, that's something that our parent is supposed to be aware, because come January 2026, this might be also repeating itself, and that's something that has been happening. Of course, that is it in the People's Daily. And of course, the key headline is all about inside Ruto's power circle, a story published on page 5, talking about the men who are working behind the closed doors, and of course what is running out, and as they are moving on with the president. And that is the silent strategists, as they have mentioned in these People's Daily. Of course, that is where I take a break. Once we get back, we'll be having a conversation, of course, having a look at the remaining two, that is Taifa Leo and also the Business Daily newspaper. Don't go too far, and remember that you can be able to engage us on our social media platforms, on our SMS number, that is 21575, and also on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram as Indizi TV Africa. Not forgetting that on our WhatsApp at 0711 199890. I'm Jeff Nyakundi. We'll be back in a short while.
Everybody longs for. Human beings will spend their time online searching remedies for conditions challenging them. Some will go to medical facilities seeking medical help, while others will use herbal means to keep their health hazards. I am Chemutai Kirui, and every week on Afya Yetu, we open the doors for life-changing conversations from wellness and nutrition, preventing diseases, managing chronic illnesses, and even mental health. We bring expert advice, real-life stories, and practical solutions that touch every part of your life. Join me, Chemutai Kirui, on Indizi TV Africa Afya Yetu Health Show every Friday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. and be part of the change.
Je, wajua kwamba mapishi si kazi tu ila ni sanaa? Njoo tujifunze mapishi mapya katika runinga ya Indizi TV Africa. Hapa ndipo tunapika, tunajifunza, tunakula, tunasherehekea na kucheka kidogo. Ungana nami kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia mida ya saa 2 usiku katika kipindi chetu cha Pishi Bora. Hapa ndipo tutakuwa tunapika vyakula mbalimbali ambavyo vitakuwa vinanukia, kama vile mchuzi wa nyanya, tunapika kuku kitunguu, tunapika wet fry na vyakula vingi zaidi. Njoo tujifunze pamoja na tulete ubunifu jikoni katika kipindi chetu cha Pishi Bora. Ungana nami Ronelfa katika kipindi cha Pishi Bora, tulete ubunifu jikoni.
Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739 318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
This festive season, treat yourself at Canal Park Hotel, just 5 kilometers from Kisii town off Kisii-Kilgoris Road. Enjoy luxury, comfort and a 10% discount on all accommodation services. Book now and celebrate in style. Canal Park Hotel, the pride of Kisii.
Welcome back again as we finish up having a look at our morning paper review here at Ndizi TV Africa. And remember that this is a morning buzz with Jeff Nyakundi. Of course, my director is James Ondieki. And we had, of course, had a look at the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, the Star, and of course the People's Daily. Now moving to Taifa Leo, and some of the stories published on Taifa Leo, the main headline, they are talking about kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. Tutaja kwamba rais ana kibarua kuteua mmoja wa washirika wake awe mgombea mwenza, na picha ambazo tunaona pale ni picha ya naibu wa rais wa sasa Profesa Kithure Kindiki, Gladys Wanga ambaye ni governor wa Homa Bay County, na bila shaka waziri mwenye mamlaka makuu Musalia Mudavadi, pale wakitaja kwamba ni kibarua naibu wa rais Kithure Kindiki anatarajiwa kukumbana na ushindani mkali kutoka kwa wendani wengine wa Ruto wanaomezea mate kiti chake cha mgombea mwenza katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao, hasa baada ya ufanisi katika uchaguzi mdogo pale. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Kwingineko, tukiangazia vidokezo zaidi katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, ni kwamba kisanga cha walinzi wanatembea cha mtatiza waziri. Murkomen na Kanja wajipata babaya kuondoa walinzi wa viongozi. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa ukurasa wa pili, and this is something that happened last week, that is after the by-elections. And of course we saw that the governor of Trans Nzoia, George Natembeya, mentioning that he of course his police officers have been retrieved. And elsewhere is that ukurasa huu wa pili ni kwamba kinaya cha wasomi wa PhD bila kazi yabainika wa Kenya wengi waliosoma hadi kiwango cha degree pia hawana kazi nzuri hapa nchini. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. Na ukurasa wa 4 katika kizaazaa ambacho kinaonekana kuendelea katika chama cha ODM, bila shaka wamehitaja kwamba Otiende Amolo aongea lugha ya Sifuna, asema hapa kuwa na makubaliano rasmi kati ya Ruto na Raila. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 4, na Otiende Amolo alikuwa anazungumza hiyo jana katika moja ya makanisa pale nyumbani pale Ujaluoni, akizungumza kwa lugha nyumbani, akiwaeleza kwamba kila ambacho wanafahamu ni yale ambayo Raila Amolo Odinga aliyezungumza akiwa katika hafla moja, hasa wakati walikuwa wanaendelea kusherehekea miaka 20 ya chama cha ODM, hasa wakati wa mwisho kuonekana akihutubia wananchi na bila shaka wendani wake basi wakati alihudhuria miaka 20 ya kusherehekea chama cha ODM katika moja ya kongamano ambalo liliandaliwa hapa nchini. Basi inaonekana kwamba bado ODM kuna nyuva za hapa na pale, mikanganyiko, vuta ni kuvute hapa na pale. Basi Otiende naye akianza kuzungumza lugha ya Sifuna. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 4. Kwingineko katika ukurasa wa 2 ni taarifa kuhusiana na waasi wa chama cha UDA na bila shaka chama kile cha ODM wakabiliwa na adabu. Baadhi yao ni Boni Halwale, Jijo Pefu, alimaarufu Mohamed Ali, na bila shaka mbunge Kibagendi na Amisi ni wale ambao wametajwa kwamba huenda wakajipata babaya na kuadhibiwa na chama ama na vyama vyao kwa kile ambacho kinatajwa kwamba walienda kinyume na matarajio ya chama na yale ambayo walikuwa wametarajiwa wayafanye. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 2. Kwingineko ukurasa wa 20 ikiwa kwamba ni taarifa za michezo ama za sporti zimechapishwa pale, sema kwamba Manchester United na City wapaa katika EPL. Manchester City washika nafasi ya 2, Red Devils wakiliza Palace na kurukia nafasi ya 6. Ikiwa kwamba kiputa ambacho kimechezwa weekend ambayo imepita, nafahamu kwamba Jemo the top scorer ikifika mida ile ya saa 5 pale atakuwa amejiandaa kukufahamisha mengi zaidi, lakini kabla hatujatamatisha kipindi chetu asubuhi ya leo nitakuwa nikiangazia vile timu hizo za APL zilipata kucheza hiyo juzi na jana na kile ambacho kinatarajiwa katika michezo ambayo ijayo. Kwamba gazeti hili la Taifa Leo kuu ambalo limepewa kipaumbele ni kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. Wale ambao wanazungumziwa zaidi ni naibu wa sasa Profesa Kithure Kindiki, yule ambaye ametajwa pale ni Gladys Wanga ambaye ni gavana wa kaunti ya Homa Bay, na kwingineko tunamuona waziri mwenye mamlaka makuu, that is Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, wakitaja kwamba ni wale ambao wanatajwa kwamba huenda wakachukua nafasi ya naibu wa rais mwaka 2027, wale ambao wanaonekana kama ni uendani wake Rais William Samoei Ruto. Ukipata gazeti hili basi utakuwa unaangazia hayo kwa undani zaidi. Tunapoendelea kusonga mbele, as we move on, maybe let's have a look at Business Daily. That is our last newspaper. Of course, what has been published there is talking about the Kenyans fail to claim 67 billion shillings share. That is a 67 billion shillings shares of Nairobi Security Exchange listed firms, and that is the 1.85 billion shares of 47 listed firms unclaimed as at September. And of course, Safaricom tops the list with the 20.28 billion worthy of units. And of course, if maybe giving you some hint on it, is that it's talking about some of the investment and the unclaimed finances, talking about the Kenyans has failed to claim the 67.16 billion worthy of shares of 47 companies that are listed on the Nairobi Security Exchange. That is highlighting the difficulties that the state faces in reuniting the assets with their rightful owners. And of course, data from the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority shows that Safaricom tops the list in both numbers and the value of shares with the 705.46 million units worthy 20.28 billion unclaimed at the end of September this year, that is 2025. And of course, KCB Group and East African Breweries, that is PLC, are second and third with 11.16 billion, that is 190.1 million shares, and of course 5.54 billion, that is 25 million shares unclaimed respectively. And of course, the value of the shares are based on market prices at the close of trading on the Nairobi Bourse on Friday last week. And of course, the shares are deemed to have been abandoned if the owner has not claimed dividends or other distribution they are entitled, and of course the company remains unaware of the owners' whereabouts from more than 3 years. And of course the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, for years it has struggled to reunite unclaimed assets with their rightful owners, as Kenyans shy away, mainly due to the lengthy verification process and of course the low value assets, and also costly expenses like travel, and also to file the physical documents. And the 47 listed firms had a total of 1.85 billion unclaimed shares as at September this year 2025. And of course that's the information or the story talking about people own some assets but they are unclaimed, and people tend not to be going for them because of either the long process that is being taken through for them to do that. And of course Safaricom is topping the list with the 20.28 billion worthy of units, followed by the KCB Group and also the East African Breweries PLC, and of course other entities involved there. Elsewhere, talking about banking, and of course the story about the unclaimed finances, that's a story published on page 7. And talking about the banking, the small banks beat large rivals in 9-month profit. Talking about the 9-month performance of the banking industry based on bank size, and it's a small bank increased their shares of sector profits for the 9 months to September 2025, showing growing confidence by customers after years of fight triggered by the collapse of 3 lower tier lenders, that is in 2015 and also 2016. And as we move on, is that the latest Central Bank of Kenya, that is the CPK data, shows that the large banks contributed 88.3% of the industry profits, that is down from 89% in December 2024, capturing the faster growth by smaller players. And also the industry is now posted an 11.8% growth in the pre-tax profits to 227.9 billion for the 9 months that is to September, up from 203.8 billion in a similar period last year. And of course, elsewhere on the ticker side, we are talking about the counties or Kenya Power, 5.6 billion in unpaid electricity bill, that is the county government or Kenya Power, 5.6 billion in unpaid electricity bills amid efforts by a utility to recover part of the debt and shore up its bottom line. That is a story published on page 5 of the Business Daily. Elsewhere, the KRA wins 773 million tax battle with the construction firm. That is the High Court has delivered a victory for the Kenya Revenue Authority in a tax dispute with a building and a civil engineering contractor, reinstating that is 773 million tax assessment that had been overturned by the tax appeals tribunal last year. That's a story published on page 7. Elsewhere, the unit trust client, that is the double lift assets to 679 billion. That is the number of Kenyans investing in unit trust more than doubled to 2.96 million in the 12 months to September, highlighting the surge in awareness and also demand for the collective investment product. That's the story published on page 14 of the Business Daily. Elsewhere, on the market data, of course, the exchange rate still remains at 129. And of course, it's seemingly to be higher by 0.03%. That is from Thursday and Friday last week. And that's the exchange rate is at 0.03%. Elsewhere, on page 9 of the Business Daily newspaper, they're talking about the intelligence report, that is Tata Trusts show that philanthropy, when embedded in corporate DNA, can shape not just companies but nations. Of course, it's something that you can grab this Business Daily newspaper so that you can be able to go through it. There's a story published by Carol Musioka. And elsewhere on the live, that is on page 19 of the Business Daily, we are talking about, today they are talking about the women trading softer curves for a lean, stronger look. Of course, you can be able to see a photo there that is trying to keep fit, if I can just use that word. Of course, keeping fit. Kufanya mazoezi hapa na pale, and that is it in the Business Daily. And of course, the main bold headline here talking about the Kenyans failed to claim 67 billion shares of NSE listed firms. And of course, we saw Safaricom is leading, followed by the KCB Group and also the Kenya Breweries, PLC. That is the firms that are leading in unclaimed finances, that is topping the list. Of course, Safaricom being at 20.28 billion worth of units. And of course, others, that is talking about the KCB Group and also the East African Breweries, EABL. They are coming at 190.1 million and also 25 million shares, that is respectively. And that is where we crown it up on our morning paper review. Maybe a quick recap on what we have seen. Of course, in the Taifa Leo, we saw the kitendawili cha naibu wa rais mwaka 2027 baina ya naibu wa rais wa sasa Homa Bay Gladys Wanga, that is governor, na bila shaka Musalia Mudavadi, who is the prime cabinet secretary. And of course, we saw that waasi wa ODM na UDA huenda wakakabiliwa na adhabu zaidi, ikiwa kwamba waliwaunga wale ambao kwa matarajiwa mkono. Kwingineko ni kwamba the People's Daily, we saw the Inside Ruto's Power Circle talking about the men who are working in closed doors, who are scuttling away with billions in earning, and also, of course, they ensure that they make some decisions for the country to move on. And of course, no Xmas cheer for families as festivals looms because of the rise of food prices. That is up to 50%, and that is a story published on that is the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, the by-election rollout. Of course, some of the members of parliament who will be maybe facing some disciplinary, talking about Anthony Kibagende of Kitutu Chache South of ODM, that is Kale Pamisi of ODM, of course, the Homa Bay Deputy Governor Mawanga Oyugi of ODM, and of course Kitutu Masaba Member of Parliament Kilevo Mbane Gisairo of ODM. We have UDA Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale, UDA Nyali Member of Parliament, and that is Mohamed Ali. We have Ford Kenya, a Kapchai Member of Parliament, Majimbo Karasinga, and also DAPK, that is the Kakamega Deputy Governor. And of course, the Standard newspaper was talking about the scam that is loading, and also for how many? For 21 years, disputed 23 acre. That is now that the Shah is requesting to be granted 50 million for them to fence that said hospital. And of course, the owner was saying that there is nothing like that. The government is owning the land is his, and the guy mentioned that he has lived in it in 40 years. And of course, that is all about our newspaper review, not forgetting about what I mentioned earlier on the spot. Of course, we could have a look at it as the last segment. And as I take a break, once I get back, we'll be having a look at the morning report, and of course the trending stories from within our region, and of course internationally, and of course what has been happening in the political arena. Don't go too far. You can engage with us on our social media platforms. That is at Ndizi TV Africa on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and of course X. And not forgetting that you can be able to talk to us via SMS number 21571, that is 21575, and of course our WhatsApp number 0711 19 98 90. Don't go too far. I'll be back with the morning report.
Wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus, jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606.
Katika maisha ya kila siku, changamoto za kisheria sikosekani. Iwe ni haki zako kazini, masuala ya ndoa, mikataba mbalimbali, hata kwenye ardhi. Karibu kwenye Sheria na Jamii, kipindi kinachochambua masuala ya kisheria kwa undani zaidi. Hapa tutakuwa na wachambuzi wa sheria wa kusaidia wewe mpenzi mtazamaji kuelewa ni kipi kile sheria ya Kenya inasema.
Ni vizuri utumie sheria ambazo zimewekwa, the laws that are in place to help you control the properties even when you are dead.
Kwa mob justice, wale ambao wanahusika katika mob justice wanaweza kuletwa mbele ya mahakama na wakafunguliwa mashtaka, either iwe ni a murder charge or a manslaughter charge.
Kila siku ya Jumapili kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 usiku hapa ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sheria na Jamii, tukielewa sheria tunajenga jamii yenye haki.
Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Every Wednesday night, join me for powerful stories and informative stories that will touch your heart and also will be informative on Ndizi TV Africa, where we will be having able and ambitious. Join us as we empower voices that need to be heard and also encourage the inclusive voices in the society, one story at a time. We educate, we inspire, we break barriers and remind the world that disability is not inability. Tune in to Ndizi TV Africa every Wednesday as from 8 p.m. as we celebrate and empower the able and ambitious in our society. Ndizi TV Africa, beyond Africa.
kila jamii hapa Afrika, yani chini ya jua duniani, ina chimbuko lake. Ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, katika kujua utamaduni wako, ndani ya Utamaduni Afrika, tutaangazia kila jamii, tukianza na jamii ya Abagusi ambayo iko chini ya Bantu, jamii ya Mkamba, jamii ya Waluo. Vile vile tutaangazia kuhusiana na jamii ya Masai. Tutataka kujua ni mbona jamii inaenzi, ama ni mbona kila jamii inaenzi mila na tamaduni zake, na vipi hizi mila na desturi zina umuhimu gani katika utamaduni. Utapata mpaka leo jamii ya Masai inaenzi sana ufugaji wa mifugo. Kuna jamii ambazo zinaendeleza mila ambazo zimepitwa na wakati, mfano ukeketaji wa wasichana, kitu ambacho jamii nyingi hazienzi kamwe, kukeketa wasichana. Haya yote kuhusu mila na desturi na utamaduni ni ndani ya kipindi Utamaduni Afrika, katika runinga unayoienzi Ndizi TV Africa, kila siku ya Alhamisi saa 2 usiku. Kipindi kinaletwa kwako na Mwita Peter. Usikose.
Welcome back again to the morning bus. This is being a Monday, that is first day of December 2025. As we keep on moving, of course, it is 38 minutes past 7 a.m. in East African time, and of course taking you through the morning bus and of course the morning report after having our newspaper review this morning. And let's have a look at some of the stories that have been making headlines since yesterday. And of course, later on we'll have a look at the trending stories from our region and of course internationally, not forgetting the sports arena. To start with is that President William Ruto yesterday, together with the First Lady Rachel Ruto, attended the worship service at AIC Milimani, and where the head of state delivered a spirited appeal to the clergy and of course the nation. Ruto urged the Kenyan to pray for all elected leaders, insisting that no one assumes office by accident. He further expressed the confidence that Kenya can transition from a third world to the first world country within his lifetime, and renewing his call for unity, faith, and also the national dedication
of those major infrastructure in the coming year, and many of the other things that we have laid out to do. I am asking you, as members of my local church and as Christians, to pray for the plans we have for Kenya, so that God can make the difference in Kenya. I am very confident. I have no doubt in my mind that it is possible to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country before I die. It's possible. In the next, by the time I get to 90, Kenya should be a first world country. Yes. And that is just about 30 years from now. It's possible. Others have done it. I am very confident we will do it. Just imagine, you know, this church has moved from a tent to an area. God, who took us from a tent to a church and an area and a bishop, is the same God who can change the destiny of our nation. I want to thank God that this week we had elections of leaders in different categories. We want to thank God that that exercise is concluded. We have additional leaders who are coming to join us, those of us who are privileged to be in leadership. Please pray for those who have been elected. Pray for those of us who are serving, so that we can discover the will of God for our nation and the purposes of God for our leadership, and so that together with those who are being elected, we can forge ahead and do the will of God for our nation. Continue to pray, and I want to congratulate all of them from all the political parties and all the political formations. There is no leader who is elected by default or by chance. It is God who determines leadership. Therefore, and to welcome them into leadership so that we can take our country to the next level. Finally, I want to encourage all of us to see the future of our country.
Elsewhere, as we move on, the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, has applauded President Ruto for spearheading one of the Kenyan most ambitious infrastructure in undertakings, that is the Rironi-Mau Summit Dual Carriage Way. And speaking in Kipkerion East, Wetangula highlighted that the major highway upgrade, along with the planned extensions to Kericho, Kisumu, Isebania, Eldoret, and as well as Malaba, will transform the country's transport network. And of course, his remarks took a sharp political turn as he launched a blistering attack on the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, and of course, the opposition leaders in the country.
Waswahili wanasema hazidi hana sababu. Kazi yake ni kuchongoa. Mtu mulafi hata akija kwa boma yako, umpatie mtoto yako msichana, atasema ongeza mama. Na ndio hao watu wenye hawatosheki hata kidogo. Leo anasema hii, kesha anasema hii, ni kukosoa na kutafuta makosa peke yake. Lakini nyinyi wananchi mnasikiza radio, mnaangalia runinga. Mumeona rais amekuwa bunge tarehe 20. Mwezi huu unakwisha leo. Na alisungumuzia ndoto yake, mipango yake na mipango ya serikali kubadilisha Kenya kutoka nchi inaitwa third world developing country to a developed country first world. Na hiyo highway ndio tuko sasa. Na hiyo kazi sio rais peke yake, ni sisi zote. Kila mtu lazima achangie. Niliona rafiki yetu ule mtu ya shares akizungumuza maneno, akizungumuza, nikaona rafiki yangu Muturi anachapa kijana ngumi na mateke. Kura haitafutwi hivyo. Kura ni kutongoza watu. Hata nyinyi vijana, ukipenda msichana yangu ukitaka kumuoa, ukienda na ngumi na mateke hutapata. Lazima uende na lugha safi, umtongoze, useme hata kama huna kitu. Mwambie ukifika tu kwangu na kununulia ndege. Na huna kitu. People live on hope. Huna gari, hata huna pikipiki, mwambie meli iko Mombasa yangu. Na mnakubaliana mnaenda, si ndio? Hapa Kenya tuko na watu ambao wanafikiri kama si wao hakuna Kenya. Kama kiongozi atoki kwao hakuna kiongozi. Hao ndio wanataka kuvunja nchi yetu. Siasa ya ukabila, siasa ya chuki, siasa ya matusi. Huwa tunawauliza, wewe ndugu zenu, unajua tunabishana. Na hii uongozi lazima watu wabishane. Hata Biblia inasema kura ndio huamua uongozi. Lakini ukiwauliza mnataka kufanyia nini Kenya, wanakuambia Kasongo. Mnataka kufanyia nini one term? Mnafanya nini Ruto must go? Hiyo ni sera? Hiyo si sera, hiyo ni matusi na mambo ambayo.
A visibly frustrated Senator Allen Cheriot has taken aim at what he termed as useless opposition, accusing leaders including Rigathi Gachagua and also Kalonzo Musyoka for failing to provide meaningful political direction. Speaking during a public gathering, the senator argued that the opposition has resorted to divisive rhetoric, urging the country to shift towards leadership that fosters unity, development and accountability.
Speaker, hata mimi nimeshangaa. For the first time, we have the most useless opposition in the history of the Republic of Kenya. Hata wewe umewahi kuwa opposition. But when you are in opposition, you used to sell a credible message. You used to behave like an alternative government. Unakosoa serikali lakini kwa njia ya akili. Hao wa sasa kama vile wananchi wao wanaambia rais siku hizi, hata akili kweli hawana vile inasemekana. Sababu mtu ukiangalia, mtu anajipiga kifua anasema oh sijui shika kona hii ama kona ile. Uchaguzi sasa imetokea. Chama yetu ya UDA imepata ushindi kila kona. Sio Banisa kule Northeastern, sio Malava Western, sio inaitwa nini ile ingine? Baringo, wapi? Kila kona. Mimi ningewaambia wajipange pengine 2032, lakini hata 2032 Weta ameshajipanga na anapanga maneno, pengine mjaribu siku nyingine. Na sidhani vile maneno inaenda, nyinyi mambo yenu imeharibika kabisa. Kwa hivyo mimi nafurahia. I want to tell the people of Kenya, thank you, because you showed that you prefer leaders who have solution to leaders who are just filled with gossip, hate and nothing to develop our country. Thank you for speaking loud and clear that you prefer a leadership that is solution oriented rather than a divisive opposition, an opposition that has no agenda, whose duty is just to sow discord among the hearts of our people. I want to tell the people of Kenya, we will not let you down. To the leaders wale wanakuja bunge, speaker ako hapa kuwakaribisha, tushikane, tusongeshe gurudumu la taifa, tuhakikishe maisha ya wananchi wetu imesonga mbele vile inatakikana. Nitakuwa tu nimekosa sana speaker nisipofurahia hata mimi ile maneno ambayo iliendelea juzi. Unajua kuna watu walikuwa wamezunguka Kenya na maneno mingi. Tunawaambia tafadhalini, tulizeni. Hii Kenya ni kubwa. Wanaongea oh sijui nini. Tuliwaambia mtafute sera ya kuambia mwananchi. Mnazunguka na fitina ya one term na Kasongo. Sasa mmepatana na kiboko. Mimi nataka niwaambie mambo bado. Ile kiboko inawangojea hapa, mutarudi kulia kwa manyumba na mabibi yenu peke yake. Wakenya.
Elsewhere from Uasin Gishu County is that the Akikuyu elders in Uasin Gishu are raising alarm over increasing drug abuse and also alcohol among the youth, particularly during the festive season. Addressing the parents at the cultural ceremony marking the return of boys from initiation, the elders warned that the holiday freedom exposes young people to dangerous social influences. They urged the parents to take a primary responsibility in guiding their children through moral, social and also cultural challenges.
Alipotea akakosa mtu wa kumwangalia ambaye angemshughulikia. Basi tukaonelea ni vizuri tushughulikie mtoto wa kijana, sababu mvulana akipotea jamii imepotea. Na kama vile jamii zingine wanavyochunga desturi zao, hata sisi pia tukaamua kuangalia desturi zetu, watoto wetu waweze kuishi vizuri na waweze kusoma, wajue ya kwamba ni vibaya sana mtoto kijana kuanza kulewa mapema, kutumia madawa za kulevya na mambo hao mengine.
Kwa hivyo tunafurahia tukiwa Uasin Gishu ya kwamba vijana wetu hawatapotelea tena kwa madawa za kulevya, kwa pombe, maana hawa wazee wameendelea kutoa na kufunza pia hata wale ambao walienda chondoni hapo mbele waje kwa hawa wazee ili waambiwe na waelemishwe ya kwamba pombe ni mbaya na haijengi nyumba. Sisi tukiwa kama wamama tumekuja kwa ajili ya wasichana. Wasichana wetu hawapelekwi, hawaendi tohara kwa sababu sisi wamama tunawafunza hali ya huyu msichana akimaliza shule baadaye atakuwa mama, na wakati atakuwa mama, jinsi ya vile atafunza na atalinda mume wake katika jamii yake.
Na wazee tunapowaona hapa wamesimama imara na wameamua ya kwamba watoto wetu wa vijana wetu wakipitia hapa watasimamisha jamii zao, maana kijana katika jamii ndio mwanzo wa jamii. Hapo ndipo muziki ambao wakisimama muziki, wakiwa na muziki kupitia wazee watakuwa na muziki imara.
Elsewhere, the Labour Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Alfred Mutua, has launched a strong criticism of the Wiper leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, accusing him of stalling development in the Ukambani region. Speaking in Malindi during a fundraising event hosted by Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro, Mutua argued that decades of opposition politics have denied the region meaningful progress. He called on leaders to align with President William Ruto's government ahead of the 2027 general elections. Governor Mungaro echoed the sentiment, noting that the ODM victory in the Magarini by-election signals shifting political dynamics in the country.
Anawe mzee mwingine akaanza kusingizia ndio gavana monana zina nani wapi. Nataka nimwambie mzee wa DCP. Anasema anasikizanga ground. Anasikiza ground ya Kilifi, asikize vizuri. Ajua hata 2027 hakuna kura yake hapa. Si Kilifi peke yake kwani. Na sisi tuko broad base tunafanya kazi hapo kama vile baba alipotuacha, tuendelea kushirikiana sababu tuko kwa serikali ya broad base, tuko na mawaziri watano kwa chama yetu wa broad base wako.
Kutoka pale Mwingi mpaka kwa Usekuru. Yeye amekaa miaka 40 hata hajajenga barabara mpaka kwao. Hajaweka stima kwao. Hakuna maji kwao. Kwa sababu siasa yake ni umaskini. Na sisi tunamwambia, tunampa notice Kalonzo Musyoka, tunamwambia now we are launching a revolution. Lazima sasa uondoke. Ukae chini, umefanya kazi miaka yote, sasa utatuondokea sisi na wengine, tuendeleze siasa za maendeleo Ukambani.
Elsewhere, back to Nairobi County, that what began as a Thanksgiving service, that is for the Victoria's ward representative in Kariobangi North, turned to be chaotic when rivals groups crashed violently outside the venue. That is yesterday. The event attended by the deputy party leader, that is the party leader of DCP, Rigathi Gachagua, and also was disrupted yesterday. That led to the police officers' struggle to contain the unrest as tempers escalated, raising concerns about growing political intolerance at grassroots levels. That is yesterday. The event took place in Nairobi. Let's have a look at it.
Ametuma wahuni na polisi atiwapige watu wa Kariobangi North kwa sababu hawakuchagua mtu ya UDA. Hakuna shida. Panga wahuni kupiga viongozi, kupiga wananchi, ndio hii jamii na kuchukia zaidi kuliko vile imekuchukia. Na yule anakushauri amekupoteza.
Na tunataka tuwashukuru kwa sababu ya kuchagua candidate yetu wa chama cha DCP.
Haongei mambo ya ushindi ya Nairobi, haongei mambo ya Narok, haongei mambo ya Kisa, wanaongea mambo ya Bere. Bere mimi nilienda kusaidia DP. Hapa Kariobangi North ni kwa mlima. Hapo Narok Town ni kwa mlima. Kule Kisa East ni kwa mlima. Sasa tungependa kuambia kwamba hii chama.
Of course, as we move on, there's a morning bus, and this is the morning report. Of course, it is 55 minutes past 7 a.m. I take a short break. Once back, I'll be informing you more about what transpired yesterday. Of course, where the Public Service Cabinet Secretary, Geoffrey Luku, accused the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on what grounds. I'll be informing you that. And of course, not forgetting that we have some highlights on the sports and, of course, the trending stories. Don't go too far. Keep engaging with with us on our social media platforms. Of course, we are live on our Facebook page, that is Ndizi TV Africa, and as well as our YouTube channel, Ndizi TV Africa. You can be able to engage with us there. And not forgetting that you can be able to send an SMS to us via our number 21575, and of course engaging with us on WhatsApp or via 0711-919-9890. Don't go too far. I'll be back in a short while.
Festive season, treat yourself at Canal Park Hotel, just 5 kilometers from Kisii town off Kisii Kilgoris Road. Enjoy luxury, comfort and a 10% discount on all accommodation services. Book now and celebrate in style. Canal Park Hotel, the pride of Kisii.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake parts kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606.
Katika maisha ya kila siku, changamoto za kisheria sikosekani. Iwe ni haki zako kazini, masuala ya ndoa, mikataba mbalimbali, hata kwenye ardhi. Karibu kwenye Sheria na Jamii, kipindi kinachochambua masuala ya kisheria kwa undani zaidi. Hapa tutakuwa na wachambuzi wa sheria wa kusaidia wewe mpenzi mtazamaji kuelewa ni kipi kile sheria ya Kenya inasema.
Ni vizuri utumie sheria ambazo zimewekwa, the laws that are in place to help you control the properties even when you are dead.
Kwa mob justice, wale ambao wanahusika katika mob justice wanaweza kuletwa mbele ya mahakama na wakafunguliwa mashtaka, either iwe ni a murder charge or a manslaughter charge.
Kila siku ya Jumapili kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 usiku hapa ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sheria na Jamii, tukielewa sheria tunajenga jamii yenye haki.
Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Welcome back again as we move on with informing you on the trending stories and of course the morning report. Moving on is that the Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Luku accused the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua of being orchestrating the use of local youth to manipulate results in the recent concluded Mbeere North by-election. Speaking during a charge fundraiser in Suneka, Kisii County, Luku emphasized that Kenya cannot progress under divisive or tribal-based politics. He urged the citizens to be vigilant and also to reject leaders who promote ethnic polarization for political gains in the country.
Ukichunga kina mama, hata nasitaki kusema kina baba wetu sio wazuri, lakini hii ndio ground. Ukichunga kina mama, hakikisha kwamba wako na maji, barabara zinawafikia kwa nyumba, mazao yao ya shamba inafika kwa soko. Hapa hatutakuwa tunasema tam, tutasema tam.
Yeah, President William Ruto has issued a stern warning to young Kenyans over rising drug and abuse substances, saying the trend poses a grave threat to the nation's future. Addressing guests at the wedding of Moses Mudavadi's and Ndeso Saiya at the Ulinzi Sports Complex, Ruto urged young people to adopt a responsible lifestyle, build strong families, and also avoid the destructive habits. The president insisted that the strength of any nation is rooted in the stability of its families and also the discipline of its youths.
We have so many people who run away from responsibility. You know, they want to hang around, oh, I like being single, oh. But the point is, they are not courageous. They are not men enough to carry your woman home and tell them, be my wife. I want to encourage the men in this room, be men enough and marry the woman you love, find a family, be responsible.
This is the way. We all pray, we all wish you well. What the young couple has done, showing respect for the parents and everybody, is what we all want from our young people. So we wish you well as you move ahead.
I want to encourage you to uphold prayer in your family. And Gillian, you are the one who is going to hold on to prayer as Moses is the priest of the home. With God, I want to tell you that nothing is impossible.
As we move to the story that is being, of course, marked the HIV/AIDS Day today, is that the new national statistics showing that Nairobi has emerged to be the epicenter of the new HIV infections in Kenya, recording more than 3,000 cases in the past year. The report by National Syndric Diseases Control Council indicates a nationwide total of nearly 20,000 new infections, with young people aged between 15 to 34 being the most affected. 8 counties, including Nairobi, Kisumu, Homa Bay, and Migori account for almost half of the new cases. Alarmingly, HIV/AIDS-related deaths have risen over 21,000, signaling a renewed urgency for aggressive prevention and also treatment efforts. Elsewhere in sports arena, Agucha Stars are celebrating or celebrated yesterday a strong performance after defeating Mwatate United at Gusii Stadium, with the standout player Vincent Nyabuto extending his goal tally to 8 this season. In another match, the team secured a victory against Muhoroni Youth despite being reduced to 10 men following a red card. The impressive wins solidify Agucha Stars' growing dominance and also boosts their momentum this season. Of course, before we wrap it up in the morning report, let's just move to know what happened in the EPL, that is the English Premier League. Of course, there's some games were played on Saturday, others yesterday, and of course there's some games being played tomorrow and of course Wednesday as the week moves on to also to weekend. And of course on Saturday, Tottenham and Fulham had a playoff, and also Fulham got a win of 2-1. And of course Crystal Palace and Manchester United played yesterday. Of course Manchester United won 2-1. And West Ham played versus Liverpool yesterday. Of course, Liverpool won 2-0. Of course, West Ham got a red card. And as Aston Villa and also Wolves, where Aston Villa won 1-0. And Nottingham Forest and Brighton won 2-0. And Chelsea versus Arsenal, that we got a draw, and of course Chelsea got a red card. It was not an easy game, of course. And what we're expecting tomorrow, being a Tuesday, is that Manchester City and Fulham will be playing. Not forgetting Everton and Bournemouth, and of course Newcastle and Tottenham, and other games that will be played later in the week. It will be on Wednesday. That will be Aston Villa versus Brighton, Burnley and Crystal Palace, Wolves and Nottingham Forest, and of course Arsenal and Brentford will also meet on Wednesday. That is at around 10:30, and of course Leeds United with Chelsea. Of course, on that match of Wednesday, Liverpool and Sunderland will be meeting, and on Thursday, Manchester United and West Ham will be meeting. And of course, we applaud the teams that won yesterday. And as the table still stands, Arsenal is leading the EPL with the 30 points, followed by Manchester City at 25 points, and of course Chelsea being the third at 24 points. Wanted to see where Liverpool is, and of course Liverpool is at position 8 with 21 points. Manchester United being the 7th with 21 points. Of course Sunderland being the 6th with 22, and of course Brighton being Brighton with the 22 points being number 5. Of course those are the games that were played, EPL, and of course congratulations to the teams that won. Liverpool won, and I know Jemo the top scorer, hiyo ni timu yake, lakini bado wako chini sana. Nadhani kwamba watacheza. Najua Aleki anafurahia jana wa baada ya wao kushinda. Lakini ni sawa tu. Tunaendelea kuona vile mambo yataendelea. The end of it, you ever might be of Arsenal and of course EPL, the same thing. Let's just wait and see how things will be moving on. Of course, it's 10 minutes past 8 a.m. I'm taking a break. Once I get back, I'll be having a look at the trending stories. Of course, we know there's something that has been trending within, more so after the by-election that happened last week on Thursday. And of course there's a lot of issues that have been discussed on social media. Wengi wakitaja kwamba kuna makasiriko ya hapa na pale. If you are given something for you to campaign for somebody and you didn't deliver, then there is a lot that has been said on social media. Not forgetting that the Kitutu Chache, that is the Kitutu Chache South Member of Parliament, Anthony Kibagende, has been trending after he took a fight on one of maybe I can call him influencers on social media, and it has turned to be something that it's being termed to be a rough triangle from the information that we have seen on social media, and of course what people have been talking about. And we'll be having more to talk about during when we are having a look at the trending stories, not forgetting that the Malava by-election and also the Mbeere North by-election, the opposition that didn't clinch any seats in these by-elections, that is more so the members of parliament, they have decided that they are going to move to court to of course to claim the, of course to take up a case on the way the elections were done in that area. Not forgetting that the former CS for Interior, that is Fred Matiang'i, attended a church service, actually a funeral service at Mbeere North of one of his allies, and of course we'll be informing you more about what has been trending, not forgetting what Moses Kuria has said, and of course what has been reported from different areas, and simply the trending stories on our social media platforms and also from our region. Not forgetting that we are in the festive season, and of course there is a lot that has been said here and there, and then tunakumbusha kwamba today being the 1st of that is the 1st of December 2025, of course marks the celebrations of World AIDS Day, and of course there is a lot that we need to talk about it, and it's high time that you need to be tested. If you test positive, of course it's not the end of it. You need to stay alert and of course get the medication as you move on with life, and that's what some of the stories that we'll be talking about. Don't go too far, ensure that you engage with us. Of course I've seen some of the fans who have been following on our Facebook and of course YouTube. I've seen your text or your comments here. I'll be reading them once I get back. Don't go too far, engage with us on our social media platforms, on Facebook Ndizi TV Africa, YouTube Ndizi TV Africa, and of course our SMS number 21575 and our WhatsApp number 0711 19 98 90.
Festive season, treat yourself at Canal Park Hotel, just 5 kilometers from Kisii town off Kisii Kilgoris Road. Enjoy luxury, comfort, and a 10% discount on all accommodation services. Book now and celebrate in style. Camel Park Hotel, the pride of Kisii.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606.
Katika maisha ya kila siku, changamoto za kisheria sikosekani. Iwe ni haki zako kazini, masuala ya ndoa, mikataba mbalimbali, hata kwenye ardhi. Karibu kwenye Sheria na Jamii, kipindi kinachochambua masuala ya kisheria kwa undani zaidi. Hapa tutakuwa na wachambuzi wa sheria wa kusaidia wewe mpenzi mtazamaji kuelewa ni kipi kile sheria ya Kenya inasema.
Ni vizuri utumie sheria ambazo zimewekwa, the laws that are in place to help you control the properties even when you are dead.
Kwa mob justice, wale ambao wanahusika katika mob justice wanaweza kuletwa mbele ya mahakama na wakafunguliwa mashtaka, either iwe ni murder, a murder charge or a manslaughter charge.
Kila siku ya Jumapili kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 usiku hapa ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sheria na Jamii, tukielewa sheria tunajenga jamii yenye haki.
Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Every Wednesday night, join me for powerful stories and informative stories that will touch your heart and also will be informative on Ndizi TV Africa, where we will be having able and ambitious. Join us as we empower voices that need to be heard and also encourage the inclusive voices in the society, one story at a time. We educate, we inspire, we break barriers and remind the world that disability is not inability. Tune in to Ndizi TV Africa every Wednesday as from 8 p.m. as we celebrate and empower the able and ambitious in our society. Ndizi TV Africa, beyond Africa.
Kila jamii hapa Afrika, yani chini ya jua duniani, ina chimbuko lake. Ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, katika kujua utamaduni wako, ndani ya utamaduni Afrika, tutaangazia kila jamii, tukianza na jamii ya Abagusi ambayo iko chini ya Bantu, jamii ya Mkamba, jamii ya Waluo. Vile vile tutaangazia kuhusiana na jamii ya Masai. Tutataka kujua ni mbona jamii inaenzi, ama ni mbona kila jamii inaenzi mila na tamaduni zake, na vipi hizi mila na desturi zina umuhimu gani katika utamaduni. Utapata mpaka leo jamii ya Masai inaenzi sana ufugaji wa mifugo. Kuna jamii ambazo zinaendeleza mila ambazo zimepitwa na wakati, mfano ukeketaji wa wasichana, kitu ambacho jamii nyingi hazienzi kamwe, kukeketa wasichana. Haya yote kuhusu mila na desturi na utamaduni ni ndani ya kipindi Utamaduni Afrika, katika runinga unayoienzi Ndizi TV Africa, kila siku ya Alhamisi saa 2 usiku. Kipindi kinaletwa kwako na Mwita Peter. Usikose.
Of course, welcome back again as we move on to the trending stories here at Ndizi TV Africa in the morning bus. Of course, 21 minutes past 8 a.m. And as we mentioned earlier on, of course, today is the first day of the month of December 2025, and it marks the World HIV/AIDS Day, or World AIDS Day 2025. And of course, the theme for this year, they're talking about being a moment of reflecting, recommitting, and also act so that no one is left behind. And of course, they're talking about rethink, rebuild, and as well as rise. That is the hashtag being used there. That is rethink, rebuild, and rise. And as for the data that has been given out by the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, that is NSDCC, shows that the last year new infections has risen by 19%, up to 16,752 to 19,991. That is from 16,000 to 19,991, close to actually 20,000 people. And of course, the 10 counties that I mentioned earlier in the morning report, we have Nairobi County, Migori County, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Busia, Siaya, Kakamega, Nakuru, Mombasa, and Bungoma being accounted for the 60% of the new HIV infection in 2024. Nairobi County led by 3,045 new infections, and of course followed by Migori County, that is by 1,572, and then Kisumu came the third by 1,341, And of course, the NSDCC has noted that the concentration of the new infection in the 10 counties shows persistent regional disparities, and calling for differentiated county-led interventions to achieve the equitable epidemic control. And of course, as they mentioned from the report that in 2024, the national HIV prevalence stood at 3.0%, with the higher rate among the females, that is 4%, compared to the males 2.0%. And of course, the details show that the Kenya HIV estimate report released by NSCC, that is the report that was released yesterday. And further, the survey shows that HIV-related diseases increased by 0.05% in 2024, as 21,007 deaths were recorded, and this was a rise from 18,473 in 2023. And of course, AIDS-related deaths have been recorded at that high at 21,007, that is in 2024. And of course, the data shows that in 2025, Kenya recorded 52% decrease in new HIV infections, and as of 2024, 1,326,336 Kenyans were living with HIV/AIDS. Among them, 62,798 were children or are children in the country. And of course, the data further shows or reveal that infections remain highest among the people aged between 15 and 24, actually 15 and 34 years, who form the bulk of the new cases. On the other hand, Elgeyo Marakwet, Wajir, Mandera, Kisii, Machakos, Kericho, was in Gishu, Nakuru, Bomet, and Baringo, Trans Nzoia, not forgetting Laikipia, recorded 75% drop in the new infections. That's showing, of course, there are some areas that these infections are rising, and of course, there are some areas, actually some counties, these infections are just dimming down. Doesn't mean that people should be move freely and, of course, enjoy it to the fullest, but they need to take caution. And of course, maybe if it's a must for you to engage in sexual matters, then you have to use the protective gears to ensure that you are preventing yourself from getting HIV/AIDS, and of course the HIV-related infections, to ensure that we are having of course, we are living healthy. And in case you are positive, as I mentioned, is that you don't need to give up, but you need to be under drugs. And of course, you need to be identified, that is true, being tested and reconfirmed, that then you can be under drugs, that is the ARVs, for to boost your immunity and to ensure that you are doing better health-wise, and also to ensure that you are keeping safe those whom you are living with. Maybe you have a family, and of course you have kids, and these kids needs you. And that being a little information about HIV/AIDS, and of course today being celebrated in different areas, in different regions, and of course I think in Nyamira and Kisii County they will be having it celebrated in different areas. And of course during our news bulletin for 1 p.m. we'll be updating you on the ongoing celebrations and what the government and also the county governments have done to ensure that they are reducing the cases and also the infections within their counties. And remember that most people who have been identified, or the most risky people, if I can say that, as per the report that was given out by NSDCC, that is, it reveals that the infections remains higher among the youth aged between 15 years and also 34 years old. And so it means that the mostly youths are the most affected, either positively and negatively, by this. And when I talk about positively and negatively, it doesn't mean that we are happy that it is happening. It's something that, if you are a positive, of HIV/AIDS. Of course, you have a family, you have your siblings, you have people who are looking upon you, and of course they will be as well as be affected, and it can be traumatize them. But if you follow the procedure that is supposed to be followed, once you have been confirmed to be having HIV/AIDS, then you can live longer and of course have time with your family as you move on with life. And of course we'll be having more information on that regarding the reports from different counties, the Nyanza region, Rift Valley region, and of course not forgetting the regions that are within our borders. Now moving to other stories, trending stories, is that from what we have been seeing, of course, the president and first lady, they have been attending parties, that is wedding parties, of course, since that is since last week on, actually on 29th. 29th was on Saturday. That is President Ruto just mentioned that if you are 25 years and above, you should be having a family. Somebody is asking now, okay, family with this time and the economic moment that we are moving on. He mentioned that he married Rachel at the age of 25, and they say that people who are living, of course, having 25 years and above, they should be married and of course start a family. And of course, I've seen people critiquing or criticizing him on social media and are saying that Ruto has kids, and we know that they are above 25 years, and of course they have not married. And why is he telling us to do so? One of the trending stories elsewhere, we saw the PLP party leader Martha Karua talking about the godoros that were being given out during the campaign season for by-elections, and also others being said that they were given on the festival day of the campaign season. I just quote what he mentioned, that usipende godoro kuliko haki yako. Ndiyo, godoro ichukue utalalia, lakini usisahau kwamba uko na jukumu la kufanya yale ambayo unapaswa kufanya kama Mkenya, aswa kuchagua viongozi ambao wanafaa kuongoza nchi kwa njia ambayo ni mwafaka pale. Martha Karua warned against the vote buying, urging Kenyans to defend their rights. And of course, it's high time what we have seen from the by-election that happened last week. Kenyans and also the youths, more so the Gen Z, of course, we saw last year, 2024, the maandamano that happened in the country. And of course, what happened this year, 2025, and I think it's high time that the Gen Zs should be they should take this time to register as voters. Of course, from the report, it indicates that the by-elections, actually, out of 10%, the old mamas and the wazis, actually, the middle-aged people, that is from the age of 35 upwards, they're the most people who voted out in the by-elections, meaning that the young people, the Gen Zs, that is the age of 18 up to 35, they didn't get out in large numbers to exercise their constitutional rights. Elsewhere, of course, yesterday's paper was reporting on the reports that ODM and the UDA are edging closer to a formal coalition for the 2027 general elections, and Kenyans of course building on the March 2024 cooperation pact. The recent by-election in November 2025 saw UDA and ODM candidates, often supported by the broad-based government framework, clinch all parliamentary seats in the contested areas, including Mbeere North and Malava. These wins are seen by some within the party as a sign that the future of their coalition will be electorally viable. But the idea of a coalition with the UDA has exposed the significant rift in ODM, while some leaders like John Mbadi have openly packed Ruto for 2027, and others such as ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna have insisted that ODM will be fielding its own presidential candidate, and have criticized the UDA government performance. And of course, according to the National Assembly Minority Leader Junet Mohammed, about half of the original 10-point memorandum memorandum of understanding has been implemented, and the most of this progress is being used as the basis of argue for the more structured long-term political union. And of course, the situation remains fluid with the potential grand coalition contingent on the overcoming these internal party disputes and successfully navigate the full implementation of the March 2024 PAC. Of course, the agreement between the ODM and the UDA, and they are seemingly seen to be having or to be forming a coalition come 2027, that is from the by-election that ended last week. And of course, the UDA and ODM clinched in all the parliamentary seats, that is the members of parliament from Malava, Mbeere, North Kaspur, Banisa, and other constituencies that had the by-elections in the country. Elsewhere, the Teacher Service Commission has moved more than 400,000 teachers from minute to the government share scheme, or that is by today actually, despite the court petition challenging the transfer. Of course, there was a court petition that was filed, and of course, it has not been yet concluded, or the ruling has not been given out. But the Teacher Service Commission has moved more than 400,000 teachers from minute to government share, a scheme on that is by today, that is 1st of December 2025. And of course, it is something that has left people having conversations, and others arguing that if this is the case, then all public servants should be moved to SHA. Otherwise, it is discriminatory if it remains that Teacher Service Commission is the ones, or the teachers only will be moved to SHA and other public servants not to. And that is what they have termed that they should be able to do it genuinely and ensure that all public servants now, if that is the way to go, then they are moved to actually they are moved to the SHA scheme. And elsewhere, of course, the Rarieda Member of Parliament, Atienda Molo, said that ODM is that the ODM in pro-based government till 2027. Beyond that, says the party needs to the new agreement beyond 2027, if at all, it will be remaining in the pro-based government and supporting William Samoei Ruto's bid for 2027. That is the sentiment for Rarieda Member of Parliament, Atienda Molo. And of course, in the newspaper, we saw that ameanza kuzungumza lugha ile ya Edwin Sifuna. Elsewhere, we saw the convoy, of course, a wedding that was done. There was a wedding of that is the NIS boss, Bwana Haji Nuruddin Haji. Of course, the president and other dignitaries attended it, and of course, Musalia Mudavadi's son was wedding over the weekend, and the president attended. And of course, from the colorful pictures we have seen and also clips, that it went on well, where they were escorted with the police motorcycle escorting it. That is, of course, wedding is beautiful and it's good, and now that was the that was the foundation of the president saying that if you are 25 years and above, you should marry. And of course, Kenyans have been asking. We know your kids, some of them are more than 25 years old, and have they married or gotten their spouses? That's a question, of course, I cannot answer on behalf of him. Maybe we have to meet one-on-one, maybe we can ask that. And elsewhere, in Kariobangi yesterday, chaos erupted in Kariobangi North as rival group crashed, where DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua was leading the DCP Thanksgiving of the area MC elect David Wanyoike. Of course, something that led to tear gassing actually the the members who were attending the church service. This after the push or the police officers were trying to disunite the two parties that were having issues, or the groups that crashed before the tear gas were being dispatched into the church. And of course, that's something that has risen questions from different people in the country, Kenyan talking about them, that even young kids just had breathing issues. Of course, whenever you're being tear gassed inside a church, a closed, of course, a closed compound, a closed room without no that is air circulation, it was an issue. Elsewhere, the Jubilee party leader, the Jubilee deputy party leader, Fred Matiang'i, attended the consecration of and the Thanksgiving service at ACK St. Peter's Cathedral in Kenol in Murang'a County. And of course, we saw the president and the first lady, Rachel Ruto, attend the AIC, that is the church service at AIC Milimani in Nairobi. Of course, I mentioned that earlier on. And police officers trailing opposition leader Rigathi Gachagua throws tear gas inside the church compound located in Kariobangi North, where he was attending the church service. And that is something that left most of the church members uncomfortable. Of course, the tear gas were being thrown into the compound of the church at that is the church compound at Kariobangi North. Of course, it was not a good gesture, or it was not a good thing to do. And of course, the story, the president explaining on how she married at the age of 25, and he's saying that 25 is too young, and nowadays people are saying that 25 is too young for them to get married. People are hanging around all the way to their 30s and beyond. That is not me saying it. I'm just quoting what the president was saying yesterday when he attended the wedding of Musalia Mudavadi's son. Elsewhere, in Coast region, the DCI have arrested 3 suspects in Diani with 1.7 million, that is 1,000 notes in counterfeit cash. The trial is linked to a wider fake money syndicate operating along the coastal region. And of course, it's something that the government is working on, and also the DCI officers, to ensure that they close, or they are done, or they are, of course, they are taking responsibility of these guys who are having the fake money, or the money, or the fake money syndicate in the region, that is in the coastal region. Elsewhere, when we move outside our borders, that is to Uganda, Uganda is preparing for the 2026 general elections that are scheduled to happen in January, that is next year. And as it is planning for that, the 2026 January general elections, Bobi Wine appeared to be pulling huge numbers in his rallies as he aims to dethrone the incumbent Yoweri Museveni. And of course, the opposition has not been having good time in Uganda. Of course, we know Kizza Besigye is detained, actually is in jail. And of course, we have been seeing Bobi Wine being aka Changulanyi moving on, doing the campaigns to ensure that he clinches to power come 2026, when the general elections will be done in January. But now Yoweri Museveni just mentioned the other time that he will be contesting for the last general election and for the last chance, that is the 2026, and he just wants only that after the other coming elections, that he will not be able to be taking part in it. and that is what is trending from our neighbors. And of course, the update from the Odinga family is that the family of the late Beryl Lilian Achieng Odinga, sister of the late former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, has agreed that she will be laid to rest at Kango Kajaramogi in Bondo, Siaya County. And the decision was reached during the closed-door family meeting held, bringing clarity to burial plans following her passing on November 25th. That is last week. And of course, we send our condolences to the Odinga family as Ndizi TV Africa for the loss of their loved ones. Actually, a month away. That is a month after the death of Raila Amolo Odinga. Elsewhere, the DCP party leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, has claimed that the majority of political seats in Nairobi have been handed over to DCP party by Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka ahead of the 2027 general elections. He was just talking this after he attended a church service at PCA yesterday, and he said that he is confident that most of the MCAs will be most of the majority political seats have been handed in Nairobi have been handed over to DCP as they are waiting for the 2027 general elections for them to actualize that. And of course, we'll be waiting and seeing how this thing will be having. Of course, we will be moving in the general elections. Is it the opposition that will be clinching to all these seats in Nairobi, as Rigathi Gachagua is mentioning, or things will be moving south during that time? And of course, I mentioned in the morning report that what the president mentioned yesterday about changing the country from the third world country to the first world country. Elsewhere, something that has been trending on social media platforms, we have seen a video that is retrieved from one of the restaurants where a man known as Moriasi was having lunch, and that is on Thursday. CCTV footage showing Kitutu Chache South Member of Parliament Anjuh Kibagendi moving hands and legs to his critic over undisclosed reasons. Of course, the undisclosed reasons later on when Moriasi spoke, he was mentioning that it is something that is related to the love triangle, as per the person who was attacked by the Member of Parliament Kitutu Chache South Anthony Kibagendi, and it's something that has been as per the discussions on social media. Of course, others calling Anthony Kibagendi the rogue Member of Parliament, and of course others saying that the attacked person has been has been posting issues of actually attacking Anthony Kibagendi politically. And of course, from the videos and the CCTV footages we have seen, is that things didn't work better. Of course, we can be able to see when just one man walked in and stood somewhere, then just beside the door, then the Member of Parliament came in, and in a span of in a span of 3 minutes, the fight starts and ends by the people who are in that restaurant actually coming to rescue of Moriasi. It's something that as we are speaking, it's something that has been moved to court, and we are waiting to see how it will move and what will be happening. And of course, as at yesterday, the Member of Parliament had not been arrested, and of course we saw Moriasi complaining that that has not happened, and he is now living in fear of his life. Let's just wait and see what's going to happen as we move on. And of course, mapigano haya between members of parliament and also their opposition from their area, it's not something that we are seeing for the first time, but something that we have been seeing that has been happening here and there. But for this, let's just wait and see which turn will it be taking. And elsewhere, the media, that is the medical administrator administrators limited has instructed that the hospitals to stop offering services to teachers after it is a contract with the Teacher Service Commission expired. The CEO Mazi Mwangangi announced that the Social Health Authority will take over responsibility starting midnight, that is yesterday, actually starting today elsewhere. And of course, so many of the teachers will be asking, so where do we go for the treatment? Of course, some of the questions that I've been asking here and there. Elsewhere, as I almost crown it up, maybe Kalonzo Musyoka has dismissed the speculations of that President William Ruto is forging an electoral pact with Oginga Odinga's ODM party ahead of the 2027 general election, describing the idea as premature and doomed to collapse. Kalonzo further says that that younger voters remain vigilant against what he calls attempts at vote suppression, and he praises the political awakening of the Generation Z, saying that the youth were increasingly determined to shape the Kenyans' future. Of course, the opposition politics and of course the plans to have coalitions ahead of the 2027 general elections are on high stake, and of course we are waiting to see. And of course the Kenyan political way and also the coalition and also seeing the winning team is a little bit, this is too early, maybe, for me, maybe if I can just mention that. It's something that we are used, that is 2 to 3 months towards the election. That is around, of course, we'll be having our general elections in 2027 at August there. Maybe around May, June, July, that is when we see people forming coalitions, others moving from one party to another to ensure that they are positioning them comfortable to where they are seeing that they are going to win and they are going to have it done, and also as per their plans and whatever they think that they are going to get something for them. And of course, today being HIV/AIDS Day, of course we have given you the data that was given out yesterday, and of course the mostly among youth who are infected with the new infections, that is over 20,000, they are aged between 15 and 34 years old. And elsewhere, Moses Kuria declares Nairobi governorship bid, picks George Aladwa as the running mate in the bold 2027 general elections. And of course, Kuria's choice of Aladwa targets the Sakacha's Luya and Kikuyu base agreement or voting pattern. And of course, we have been seeing people giving their bids on what they want to do on the position that they want to clinch come 2027. And of course, Moses Kuria, who is the former CS in the Kenya Kwanza government, is now planning, as declared, to go for the Nairobi governorship, and he has picked George Aladwa as his running mate come 2027. And that's why maybe as we move on, I want to go through your comments that you have sent either through our YouTube channel or through our Facebook page, that is Ndizi TV Africa. Maybe I need to quickly have a look at it and see what you have commented and what you have seen on our social media platforms. That is Ndizi TV Africa on our Facebook page, and not forgetting that you can keep a conversation via our SMS number. That is Ndizi. That is our SMS number is 21575. And not forgetting that you can also have a conversation via WhatsApp, that is via 071119 and also 90, where you can be able to have our conversation moving on. And elsewhere, maybe I go through the comments here and there. I can be able to see Sheira Kemunto saying that she is following from Makadara constituency, that is Nairobi, and is asking tumepotelea wapi? Hatujapotea, we are here. I can see the Grand Papa Chantel following live one-on-one. I thank you for following. I can be able to see Minyo Yaumbu saying that he is following one-on-one from Kiogoro, and of course from Miruka town. I can be able to see known as Olfa Skefu. She is following from Miruka town. Thank you for following Olfa. And of course, the alumni for 2014, that is class of Geke Secondary School, they are on, and of course, they are following. Congratulations. Thank you, guys, for following up. And of course, who else is here? Let me have a look at it. Those ones who are following, I can be able to see Minor KE is following Ndizi TV Africa. Of course, I can be able to see who is this, Jocho Chiang, saying that he is following Ndizi TV Africa this morning. Of course, that is some of the comments that I've seen from you, our follower, and also our viewer who is following us on our social media platforms. And not forgetting that whatever is happening currently is that currently the president, that is President William Samoei Ruto, is at the National Police College Embakasi A campus housing, that is Nairobi. Of course, I think he was launching the housing units in that area, and of course we'll be gathering more information and informing you on what's going on. Of course, we have seen the members of parliament. Of course, we have seen Governor Sakaja there, and also not forgetting the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen and other dignitaries in the cabinet, and of course the national government involved. And as we move on, of course, that is it for this morning. It is 55 minutes past 8 a.m. That is the morning bus, and of course let me just moving on, looking here and there to see whether there is some people still following here and there, and of course to say thank you for those who have been following our morning bus, and being the new month of December 2025. We wish you a happy month. Of course, it's a festive season. This is that time that our colleagues, our family members, brothers and sisters, they are coming home to celebrate with us. And of course, we need to prepare well, and not forgetting that this is the most time unapata kwamba road accidents zinakuwa zaidi. And I urge all of you, whenever you are traveling, if you know that you want to get home early enough, you start your journey early enough, not that you start late and then you start rushing more so when going home, and maybe with your car you might cause an accident if you are not very keen on the road. And as we mentioned earlier, that we'll be following on the happenings today, being the HIV/AIDS Day celebration that is worldwide. We'll be following up, and of course by 1 p.m. in Mpasho Wasasaba, I'll be giving you more details on what has been happening since then up to this moment. And up to that point, I would like to end up or wrap it up there. That is for the morning bus show here at Ndizi TV Africa, to say that thank you for having time with us. Thank you for following up our show since we started this moment. And of course, wherever you are watching us from, the likes of Kevin Udhiambo, who have been seeing, the likes of we saw here the likes of Sheila Kemunto, the likes of Minyoya Umbu, Olfa Skefu. Thank you for following up, and keep following up, of course, during the sports arena today. That Jemo, the top scholar, that is our sports anchor, will be having our guests on board, and they will be having a discussion, of course, trying to inform you on some of the whatever they'll be talking about is about the Zaheer Jhanda, that is the Nyaribari Chache Cup that is happening, and of course he will be informing us more about what is going on in that area, and also more on sports arena that is around an hour from now. as he is preparing for that, of course, we'll be having our guests over the same who will be having a conversation on those issues. And of course, the guest will be Jared Anjuh Orare, who is the communication director in Nyaribari Church constituency. Will be hosted by Jemo, the top scorer this morning. That is through the Zaheer Jhanda Cup 2025. And of course, you can be able to send your questions via our SMS number 21575, and not forgetting that you can engage on our WhatsApp number, that is 0711 1998 90, for more questions, and of course what you think about when talking about sports and also talent in the country, and of course engaging the young people. And that is it from me. Thank you for showing up, and also thank you for watching Ndizi TV Africa. Keep following us on our social media platforms as Ndizi TV Africa. See you at 1 p.m. news today. I've been your host, Jeff Nyakundi, and of course my director has been James Ondioki. Bye bye. Have a lovely day ahead.